Wow, that was really good. I'm impressed. All right, well, it is 10 o'clock on the button, and I do believe in being mindful of your time. I know this is a busy time of the year for all of you, so I really appreciate you coming today. Before we begin, though, I would like to take a moment to reflect on the life of one of our beloved faculty members, Dr. David Morgan. Unfortunately, Dr. Morgan passed away this past Saturday, and I think we can reflect for a moment about his 25 years of service at YSU. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you so much. The flag will be flown, the YSU flag at the Peace Pole will be flown at half-staff. It started yesterday and will be flying again today and tomorrow. So welcome to the State of Academic Affairs. Again, I appreciate you all being here. I know it's a rainy day, so it's a good day to be inside, but I know you have plenty of other things to do. I want to start by recognizing our board member, Mr. Frida, who is here in attendance. Thank you so much. Our president, Bill Johnson, thank you. Members of the cabinet, you want to stand? Members, vice presidents of the cabinet. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. And then, of course, our chairs, our deans, and everybody in the provost cabinet. Can you still please stand and be recognized? Yay. Thank you folks so much. They have so much on their plate and a lot that's going on. I can't start this though without thanking two people that do so much work for me, and that is Chris Habuda and Cindy Bell. Could you please stand and be recognized? Thank you, ladies. You keep the office going for sure. Well, if you were walking in and you saw all of the slides going, there's about 150 different headlines. Probably more than that, but we captured about 150. I asked Ross Marone, who does amazing work, to put together 150 different things that our faculty accomplished this past year, and there were so many more that we could add. But it truly inspired Ross to create a video that reflected how much those of us in the Office of Academic Affairs really appreciate you as faculty. So he put this video together. It's pretty incredible. So it's only about a minute and a half, and hopefully it works.
1 year, thousands of students, countless moments of discovery, made possible by the people who teach, mentor, create, challenge, and believe. This is what YSU faculty make possible. Students persisted, students graduated, students discovered what they could become. Learning moved beyond the classroom, faculty opened doors, 3,248 degrees awarded. A student research team earned national recognition. A faculty mentor helped turn an idea into a company. YSU graduates entered classrooms, hospitals, laboratories, businesses, and communities. Questions became discoveries. Practice became performance. Research became solutions. Innovation became opportunity. Students solved real-world problems. Youngstown became the classroom. The region became stronger. Programs evolved, barriers came down, new pathways opened, YSU met the moment. And momentum grew. Behind every accomplishment was a faculty member, teaching, mentoring, creating, discovering, believing. Because of you, students succeeded. And because of you, YSU moved forward.
And that really is a reflection of how those of us in the Office of Academic Affairs think about you as faculty. We truly believe you're filling out the mission every day of inspiring individuals, enhancing futures, and enriching lives. So thank you for all the work that you do. Will all returning faculty member please stand and be recognized? Come on, guys, it's your chance to stretch. Yay. Again, thank you for all that you do. We know that you're the reason that we're here. We know that you're the reason why YSU is so successful. So, new faculty. We have some great new faculty. I had the opportunity to meet 20 new faculty yesterday. So those new faculty that are in attendance, can you please stand and be recognized? Thank you so much for being here. I know you have a very busy week, lots that are in store for you, and we appreciate your attendance here. And if you saw that video, we know that you'll be on that next year, right? So thank you for everything you're doing. The energy that was in that room yesterday with all 20 faculty was incredible. So thank you again for choosing YSU and becoming part of our family. There was no better time probably than now to join YSU either. We had a wonderful summer ending negotiations. I've been here for almost 30 years, and I shouldn't say that, but it's true. I've been here for almost 3 decades, and I've never seen a collective bargaining agreement this favorable for faculty. Not only is there an increase in base salary minimas, there's an increase in promotion, and there's a 3% increase each of the 3 years. And I thank our CFO, Neil McNally, for doing the magic with the numbers, and I thank our Board of Trustees for having the faith in us that we'll be able to pay for that collective bargaining agreement. And so some of what I'll be talking about a little bit later in this conversation is how we are going to make sure that we can afford that. But most importantly, I thank the members of the negotiating team for both the administration and the faculty. There were a lot of challenges that we had to overcome in this negotiations, and this group of folks did this beautifully. There was a lot of open dialogue. There was some great collaborative engagement. So will the members that were on that team that are here in attendance please stand, be recognized? Thank you all. Truly a great job. And Dr. Christina Sanger, that was her first rodeo, not only in negotiations, but as a lead negotiator. She did a fantastic job. And Dr. A.J. Summel, he's old hat. He's done that many times, but he did a great job. So thank you all for your collaborative spirit during that time. Another group that really felt the effects and the challenges because of everything that was pulled out of the collective bargaining agreement was my provost leadership group. This group did a tremendous job, and what they do, and I have to thank Dr. Alan Tomhave and Dr. Sarah Michaelism. A couple years ago, they came to me with a suggestion, hey, let's do a provost leader group. And they said that this is a group that they heard at a conference, faculty, that really gives some advice to the provost office. And so we took a chance with these great individuals, and they have been instrumental. When we bounce ideas off, we say, what does this sound like from a faculty perspective? And they let us know. And we make changes or we make adaptions because of them. So getting their insight of how they're reading things and how they're looking at things has really been truly helpful. When I asked them a couple years ago, I said, it won't be that long, we'll just try it out. Well, they're in their 3rd year. So we decided that probably would be a good idea to have another group of individuals come in. So we have a new group of faculty members. Bharat's kind of still hanging in there because he started late, so he is continuing on for the STEM. But there's one member from each college. And they are so helpful not only to me, but to the rest of our Office of Academic Affairs. While we're talking about that office, this is a real simplified version of what we do in the Office of Academic Affairs. But a lot has changed since spring. Vice President Mike Sherman, who we all know he lives, eats, and breathes education. He got the opportunity to work at the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and so when he left, we were able to adopt some areas. One of the areas we adopted was the International Programs Office. This office is going to become very vital to how we are planning our enrollment and how we're looking to the future to make sure we have a lot of cultural diversity. This area came underneath the Office of Academic Affairs and now reports to Ross Marone. Another area that came under our umbrella is the institutional research. Never has there been a time that's been more vital to have accurate and credible data than now. If you look at all the challenges from the state, we are making sure that the data that we send, the iPads data, everything that's important to how we receive money rests on having good, clean data that's credible. So we're very excited to have institutional research under us. They report directly to Associate Provost David Graham, and we're excited to have them working at the table with us to make sure that you get the data you need to evaluate your program. Another group they come as a trio. You can't separate these guys. It's it's graduate admissions and undergraduate admissions. It's admissions total. The registrar and the financial aid. This group, we have learned so much just from the past 5 months of how we can better integrate what we do in the Office of Academic Affairs with what they're doing. A little later in this talk, I'll share with you about all the contact that they've been making with students to make any type of yield happen. We also want to congratulate Tysa Eggleton. Tysa is our new Associate Vice President for Strategic Enrollment. She takes the place of Jeannie Herman. So if you're used to calling Jeannie Herman, call Tysa now. We did a big search, and by far Tysa she really excelled. Her vision and what she has for that area, we can't be more excited than to have her working with us. Also in the Provost Cabinet, there's another promotion. This woman does everything. I don't know how she gets things done. I have no idea. But she is now, we elevated her title to Vice Provost and Dean, because anytime we ask her for anything, she's there. She's there in the community. She's there on campus. So congratulations to Vice Provost and Dean Amy Constantino. Her role will not change as Dean. She's still the Dean of the Cliff College. She's still the Dean of the Sokolov Honors College. And she is still the Vice Provost for Experiential Learning and Engagement. And just because we received the community, the elective, help me out here. The Carnegie Foundation elective class, it's too long. Because we received that doesn't mean we stop, right? We're going to keep going. So there's a lot more work to be done in that area, and Vice Provost Constantino will lead us in that direction. What do I have next? Oh, so if you were to see this presentation, it is labeled version 4. And that's because version 1 of my presentation today was all about what I thought you would want to hear. And then I thought, that's probably not a good idea. So I started to ask folks, and I asked the executive branch of your union, I asked the Academic Senate Executive Committee, I asked my Provost Leadership Group, and I asked my cabinet, what is most important for me to talk about today? And you can see the list of topics just blew up. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to try and cover today. I do not have this presentation rehearsed at all, as you probably already noticed. So I'm going to be looking at my watch because that clock's not right. And hopefully I can get through all of this in the right amount of time. But we have a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things that are on your minds. So I'll try and hit them all today, but I can stay after for questions if you have any. Let's start with probably what's the most important to our faculty, or what I'm hearing most often, and that is workload. So when we look at the challenges that happened when we were pulling everything out of the collective bargaining agreement, workload became a big topic. Now, it was already pulled out of the collective bargaining agreement, but there was even more emphasis on workload and reporting what you're doing. I want to make very clear that tenure and tenure track faculty have always been responsible for teaching, scholarship, and service. That hasn't changed. Your teaching will remain at 24 workload hours, but the state wants us to account for what else you're doing. So your responsibility, if you're tenured or tenure track, there is a research expectation. And here's what's beautiful about what this did for us. It made us sit down with the faculty and the chairs and figure out what is important in your department, what's important for your program. So each program sat with their chair and developed their rubrics. You guys have developed your action steps and your goals in your department pitch statements. That is what's telling us what's important for your workload. So that is key, remembering that you guys had a voice in that. Now the research, there's an asterisk there because we're going for an R2 status. Now R2 won't be across the board. There's going to be certain areas where we're going to put our focus for R2. So we're going to look at certain departments that have research as their number one priority, and we're going to make sure we provide them with the resources needed. For term faculty, your requirement's always been 30 teaching hours. It still will be that way. Service, of course, is expected. Why is service expected? Because we need to make sure that your program is growing. And their program's not going to grow by a bunch of administrators talking about your program. Your program's going to go by the faculty members getting involved. So recruitment efforts, talking to students, giving them the tours. We're also going to grow the university with shared governance. If you're not involved on committees, we can't have shared governance. So the more you're involved, the better it is for the institution. So please think about the service as the way that you can improve the environment in which you work and live every day. Now, I mentioned a little bit about reporting. Another challenge was, how do we do evaluations annually? You all are used to, once you're tenured, you had several years before you had to do another evaluation. The older and older I get, the more I'm happy for annual things, because I can't remember what I did 3 months ago. So hopefully the annual is not that big of a deal. We're all going to work through this challenge together, because your chairs aren't used to reading evaluations from everyone every year. So it's going to be a challenge for everyone. But remember that all of the rubrics have been put in place. And so what you're used to, we have very weak to very strong before, and so many faculty had very strong all the time, and no doubt you're very strong. But remember, the state has required different categories. Does not meet expectations, meets expectations, exceeds expectations. So those are the categories that we're going to go with. So if your rubrics are set up so that you know, and the chair doesn't really have a choice, right? The chair is going to look at the rubric and see where it aligns and mark that mark. So it's important that you are connected with your rubric in your departments. Very big, important bullet number 2 on the right-hand side. If you miss the deadline to submit your evaluation, the chair and the dean have no choice but to hit does not meet expectations. And that's not something you want to do, because if you get does not meet expectations in the same category in 2 out of 3 years, you go to what's called a post-tenure evaluation. And that's not something we've ever had before. So your annual evaluations are important, but we had to work on the deadlines. The deadlines are a little bit skewed. We did talk to your union executive team about this before we put this through. We had a couple options, but we thought this was the best way to do it. Remember, one of the challenges is that the student evaluations now account for 20% of your teaching evaluation. 25%. Thank you, Hillary. She's a good mime. 25% of your teaching evaluation. So we needed to make sure that you had an opportunity to review all of your student evaluations before you submitted your annual evaluation. So we worked through a couple different scenarios and thought the best thing to do is to wait until you get them back, which is after final exams are received, right? So you get your evaluations back. May 14th this year, you're still under contract. It's a 39-week contract. Get your evaluation in before that date. From that date, then your deans and your chairs will review over the summer. Now, what we agreed upon is that instead of you having to check your email every day over the summer if you're not under contract, we will send out all evaluation performance results on the same exact day. Every single one of you will get an email on July 15th that says, here's the results of your performance evaluation. Even if it was done on July 10th, we're not sending it out. We'll send it out July 15th, so you only have to look at your email one day over the summer. If you don't agree with the assessment, and the assessment, again, is going to be a category of does not meet expectations, meets expectations, or exceeds. If you do not agree with that assessment, then you can file an appeal, and there's a timeline for the appeal. Now, when you go through the appeal, it's in the summer, because there is a state requirement of so many days that this has to happen within. It's not our choice. We are following it. It was a challenge that we were presented with, and we think this is a great solution for it. So we have to have it done, I think it's, I need my mime again, 90 days? Okay. So with that, it's and Hillary's right. It has to do with your post-tenure review, so I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Now, post-tenure review, we really, I am ahead of myself. All right, so these annual evaluations are aligned with tenure and promotion. And that was the other challenge we had. How do we work in a system where promotion is left in a collective bargaining agreement, but tenure is required to be pulled out? So we have the same dates. If you're going up for tenure and promotion at the same time, all the dates are the same, right? It moves along at the same process. If you're going up for promotion, it's the same process. But there are caveats for tenure. We literally just lifted it out of the CBA and put it into a policy. The biggest change is probably that there's no early tenure. I added some criteria, basic criteria, like attend graduation, right? The kids look forward to seeing you there. You've been such an impact on their life for years. They want to see you when they walk across that stage. So those are the type of criteria that were added from my perspective. And we will go to the Board of Trustees to get their approval on all of them before we confer tenure. So not a lot of big changes in that category. But the post-tenure is new, and this was a challenge because we never had that before. I'm convinced we don't ever have to worry about this because I don't think any of our faculty will get does not meet expectations 2 out of 3 years. I'm convinced that won't happen because you all have the rubric, you all know the expectations, and you all have a lot of resources to help you out as far as the Institute for Teaching and Learning. We have lots of help in the research area and SEVS area, so they have opportunities to help. So if for some reason there is someone who does not meet expectations 2 out of 3 years, we go to this post-tenure review, and you can see this is a timeline that is required by the state within 90 days. So this is why the performance annual evaluations had to fall in another timeline, because we got to fit this timeline. So making sure that you hit categories that are above, meets expectations or above expectations, will keep you from ever having to worry about this policy. And so it's a challenge to think about it, but I think it's a challenge we can all accept and just avoid this altogether. So if your performance is poor, then that is a reason, as I go back, for all of those potential outcomes. And I put that there because I want you to know how serious it can be. So these annual evaluations are very, very important. Put some effort into them. They can have some unusually different consequences. But we also are talking about retrenchment. We're not talking about retrenchment. We think everything's great. We have the right number of faculty. We have the right mix of faculty. If there's retrenchment was required to be pulled out of this collective bargaining agreement. So I don't think this is something we really have to worry about either. And the reason why is because retrenchment is not performance-based. The post-tenure review is, this is not. What happens with retrenchment is if a program is doing poorly. If a program doesn't have the number of graduates, we all know that you have to have at least 5 graduates on average over 3 years annually, or unless you have to close it or ask for a waiver from the state. Okay? We've taken care of that. But if your program isn't doing well, that's why we're here to help. And we need to start thinking about this not as a challenge, but as something that we can work on together. So we can work with you to make sure your program doesn't get to that point. And we also need our faculty to be proactive. If you see the program isn't going well, let's make changes. If you're worried that we're going to see some weak points in your program, don't worry about that. We already know. All right? So it's better for you to come to us and say, hey, we think we're going to shift into this direction. Can you help us? And we will be there to help you. So retrenchment is only a problem if your program's doing poorly and we haven't done anything to fix that. So I am not worried about retrenchment, but I know some faculty who I had asked what they wanted to hear about, asked to hear about it. So that is our point on that, and collective bargaining agreement does not contain anything about retrenchment anymore. So as I mentioned, programs are very important, and how we think about the programs is important. So you are all familiar with APEEI, right? We've changed that name. I can never remember how many E's and I's are in there, so we've changed it. APEX. So APEX stands for Academic Program Examination, for academic program excellence. And this is a process that we're going through to help programs make sure that we are reaching our fullest potential in enrollment, reaching our fullest potential in graduation, retention, all of that good stuff. So what we noticed is that we've been using this criteria, and one of the biggest criteria in developing the academic master plan is all of the legislation that's out there, right? And so I'm going to share some slides right now that are supposed to be humorous. I hope you laugh. That's a good start. So I watched the movie Odyssey. Anybody else seen the Odyssey? Read the book? Use people smarter, read the book? Okay, I watched the movie. I'm sure I read the book in high school, but I can't remember it. But the movie I watched, and I thought it was really awesome because it reminded me of some of the things that we're going through in the academic world. So this is my version of Academic Odyssey. So we had a lot of policies to write. This is the Office of Academic Affairs writing all of these policies. And what we realized on our Academic Odyssey, this is, yes, AI generated. I don't have the ability to do this. I know Sebastian's rolling his eyes right now, but that's okay. All right, so AI generated, but this is the provost hard at work with the staff developing all these policies. And what we know is that if we just tell faculty to hop on and get with it and do the policies with us and row the boat, it's going to be some choppy waters, right? And so what we realized is we had to have committees. And of course, committees formed committees. And I love what AI did here because they have the provost deciding, should I jump off? How far is it to swim to that land? Because I'm ready to jump. But anyway, we had lots of committees, we had lots of discussions, but the point of it is if we can all get on the same page and row the boat in the same direction, that's when we're going to thrive at YSU. That is exactly what it needs to be, calm waters. Now, I won't go into the rest of the movie because I have no comparison to academic affairs with the rest of the movie. But calm waters is what we're looking for. So going back to the academic master plan, our goal was to get this academic master plan out to you earlier. But we've had a lot of shifts, right? We had a lot of new policies that had to be made. We have a fantastic additional location that we're working through. All of these things that we didn't see coming before. So what we're doing now is refocusing now on the academic master plan. We put all of these influencing factors, and yes, you see you faculty are one of 5 up there. The department program pitch statements, your action steps, your goals, that is a major influence on our academic master plan. So we're putting all of those metrics into the container, shaking it up and saying, okay, here's what we're really going to measure programs on. Persistence, graduation, retention, cohort graduation, all of these metrics we are going to be giving you guys. And not only are we going to give you your baseline, but we're going to give you some aspirational goals. Here's what we hope that you can meet. So finally you have some targets. And then we're going to provide you with the resources to make sure we're hitting those aspirational goals. So that's what you're going to see. Now, with IR with us and working with IT, we hope to have this by the end of this calendar year so that you know by program and you have the same data we have. Right now, we have the same data you have, which isn't really great. But we're going to have even better data by the end of this calendar year that's going to show by program where you guys are at and what your aspirational target is. So one of the other things that when we talk about programs, we talk about the importance of programs for education, but programs are also important for life. And one of the things that some of the faculty members said is we have such an emphasis on workforce education and what kind of job are you going to get when you graduate. We have to, right? The state is our biggest donor, and that's what they're looking at. So that is a challenge that we all have to work through. But the challenge that I would say for faculty is if you make those programs interesting, the students will come. I have heard a student, most of you know I have 2 daughters. One graduated from YSU, one is here now. She's right now doing a minor that she absolutely does not need, but she's so intrigued by the class titles, she's intrigued by what she thinks she's going to learn from that program, that she's taking on an extra minor. And now she's thinking about taking an extra major. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of her, but anyway, this isn't recorded, is it? No, I love her to death, hope she stays here forever. But the point is, if you're making the classes interesting, down to the title of the class. Sometimes the title of the class is boring and students don't want to take it. So we have marketing folks, Ross Marone, marketing folks, plural now, one. We have a marketing folk, Ross Marone, that can help you look at what's attractive to students, what titles are they looking at. Let's try and find ways to engage students into these programs that maybe aren't going to create a job when they graduate, but create a lot of interest in their life skills. So let's keep in mind the role of the administrators is to create the framework. The role of the faculty is to create those very interesting classes. And so as we're looking at what's important in a program, I just want to bring up a couple examples. Philosophy program, Dr. Mark Vopat. I don't know if he's here. Dr. Mark Vopat's here. So I don't know what he did, but they were really in danger of a program that wasn't graduating enough students. And him and Dr. Tom Have started going out and making affiliation agreements for pre-law. And I know he's a great philosopher, but I can't imagine that he philosophized that much that he tripled his enrollment and graduation rates, but they've done it. So that's an example. Being creative, how can we make the program expand? So that affiliation agreement. Mandy Feldbaum, sociology. She's trying everything she can to make sure that program works. She's got it online. She's looking at reduced credit hour programs. She's got a face-to-face. She's one person. She's doing all of that to try and make it work. I think Bharat, I saw Bharat come in. Bharat's doing a lot of experiential learning, engaging local communities and local corporations to make sure that they are working with the students. He has an amazing lab. So all of these are things that we're hoping. We don't have a whole lot of money to help you, but we do have resources. How can we help you make your program grow? And think about the ways that it will attract more students. So when we're talking about attracting students, of course, this is our lifeline, right? It starts with a prospective student, and the challenge is to get them to graduate. So we've got the prospective students coming in. How do we get them to graduate? There's a lot that happens in between. Let's first talk about the prospective students. I mentioned that admissions and registrar and financial aid are now under our wing. This is pretty impressive what they've done since January. So this is just spring, summer, and the start of fall. They have processed over 15,000 applications. They have admitted close to 12,000 students and delivered aid packages adding up to over $165 million to almost 11,000 students. And all of that effort got us over 5,000 students registered. I mean, look at how many emails. I think I get a lot of emails. They're sending over 1 million emails. So this is pretty impressive, 24,000 contacts with students and families. They need our support. They need your programs to reach out to them, work with them, tell them, here's what we think. You're the experts. Admissions folks are great at what they do, but they don't know your program. And the more you interact with them, the more likely they'll be successful in getting those numbers and getting the yield that we need. When we look at all of that, can't help but talk about where we're at 5 days out. Now, 5 days out this year compared to last year. This year is the blue. It kind of looks purple to me, though. We're on the right. This year's on the right, okay? We're about 100 and some students less than we were last year, but look at the distribution. Thanks to the hard work of Sharon Schroeder and her team, we have significantly more CCP students. Thanks to the work of all the faculty, we have not significantly, but we have more continuing students. These are students coming back. But what we need to focus on is the first-time undergraduate. We have fewer. That's our bread and butter. That's what we work with. Now, first-time undergraduate, we could list all the challenges associated with that, right? Oh, internationals are down. Fill in the blank. There's probably 1 million excuses we could give or 1 million challenges that we can talk about. But we've got to figure out how to solve those challenges and how to make sure we have more students walking through that front door. So yield is something that we are working on quite a bit in the Office of Academic Affairs. And what are we doing? We're trying to meet the students where they're at. And so the responses back from people about what they wanted me to talk about today was really focused on a lot of these areas. So I'm going to go through it somewhat slowly. People are concerned about online. We are using online as a strategy. It is a strategic initiative to grow our enrollment, and we are firmly in the space. We're also using it to attract military students. Active duty military students looking to advance in their career are looking at online bachelor's and graduate programs. And this strategy has worked. So if you take a look at the number of pathways and credentials, we have 70. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of pathways and credentials. So we have 70 of them, and it's made a tremendous difference on our enrollment. If you take a look at our enrollment, 10 years ago, we had about 280 students that were enrolled in online classes. Today, we have more than 2,600 students. And I can tell you I had a conversation with our OPM partner, and this isn't all marketed through RisePoint. Some of these we market with RisePoint to help get us that extra boost in enrollment, and some of these we do on our own. The ones that are marketed through RisePoint, we already know there's a 14% increase in enrollment from last year. So it works. And what online does for us is gives us that advantage to reach students outside of the area. If you take a look at a heat map from 10 years ago, our online was just in the 5 counties that we're currently serving. If you take a look now at the heat map, it's all across the United States. So when people say, hey, we're pulling from our own in-person classes, that's not necessarily true. Our heat map shows that we're now reaching people all across the United States. And the more we interact with people and the better experience they have with our online education, the more people in Nebraska and in Tennessee and in California know about Youngstown State University. That brings us more students. And when the tide rises, all ships rise. So the more we get our name out there, the more that people know about Youngstown as a whole. Now, when we talk about AI, or we talk about online and face-to-face classes, AI does come up. And one of the things I'm really excited about is this committee. And this committee is led by Dr. Alan Tom Have, and he has a number of members on the committee. You can see in this, he wanted me to make sure that you knew that we are recruiting more members. We have some new faculty members that signed up yesterday for this. But it's AI looking at, let's survey what we're doing now with AI. AI is important. We cannot ignore AI. And our students need to graduate with an education in AI. They have to know about AI to be productive. Some of our board members gave us some very interesting articles about how important AI is to industry. So we are taking a survey. What are we doing now? Where do faculty want to be? And how do we, as administrators, accept that challenge and support you to get you there? What resources do you need to get you to the level of AI you want to teach in your course? So right now there's a survey that we're asking all of you to fill out. We desperately need you to fill that out and fill it out accurately so that we understand where we're at and can provide the resources to support you. Let's face it, campus, face-to-face, brick and mortar, that is our bread and butter. We want to keep it that way. So I go back to the discussion about making the programs interesting, making experiential learning a priority, being interactive with your students. That's what's going to keep them on campus versus going online if they're in between the two options. Now, our marketing partner would tell you an online student is an online student. You're not going to change them. But I believe there are some students that are kind of flip-flopping back and forth, not really sure what they want to do. The more we can share with them what positive experiences come from being on campus, the more likely I believe they are to stay. Steubenville, getting a lot of questions about Steubenville. Our executive director, Jennifer Board, do you want to wave, is here. She is at the Steubenville location and she's doing a fantastic job. There's a lot of questions about Steubenville. So let's talk about where we're at with enrollment. We have 91 students enrolled at Steubenville right now in 12 different programs. Now, most of them are in the healthcare industry. We have 48 that are transfer students and 41 that are new. This is extremely positive. I'm very happy with this number. This is an area in Jefferson County that has not had an Institute of Higher Ed for several years. And we showed up mid-recruiting cycle, maybe I would say late, after the recruiting cycle. So we have not had a full recruiting cycle, and we still were able to get 91 students to register for these programs. So we know that next year we'll see even stronger numbers. And as the programs get filled, we'll add more. As there's more demand in the community, we'll add more. So these 91 students are going to be treated like royalty at Steubenville, because it's a gorgeous big building. If you haven't been, I encourage you to go to Steubenville. It's a wonderful additional location for us, and it's an opportunity. It was a challenge that was given to us, and it's a challenge that we accepted because there's so much opportunity in Jefferson County, and it's a region in need, right? They need us, and we're here to serve regions around us, and they were definitely one of those. So what's our team look like? The current team, that's kind of weird. All right, so the current team, you see the 4, I introduced you to Jennifer Board. There's 3 others that are down there. We have 4 full-time lecturers, and I think now that number is shifted because they keep coming in every day, hiring new full-time faculty. So we have a lot of active recruitment going on. We're looking for 3 new administrators down there that are going to be people that are working as assistant directors, the financial aid counselor, which is very important, and the program manager for workforce education. However, I am serving as a provost over Steubenville. President Johnson is the president over Steubenville location. The deans are the deans at the Steubenville location. There's nothing new. We're not replicating administration in that way. We're only putting boots on the ground of the areas that we really need, and we have a lot of people that have volunteered to go back and forth. But we're trying to hire faculty that are in the Steubenville region, want to live there, work there, and be a part of the community. Associate degrees. With Steubenville, we start to talk about associate degrees. People are asking, what are we doing in the associate degree business? It's meeting students where they are, right? That is what the purpose is. And so if you take a look at the enrollment, we've had associate degrees for years. I only went back to 2022. So you can see we've had associate degrees. The big jump there in 2024, 2025 is when we started enrolling students that came over because they transferred from Eastern Gateway. So you see a big jump there. But look at these numbers. Even though we had a big jump because students were in that market already and they needed a home, we still are keeping those numbers. We're maintaining the associate degree numbers. This is an eye chart, but one of the questions was, how are they doing? Are they persisting? Are they staying in school? Yes. Our associate degree students are doing well. You can see some programs are in 80 and 90%. Some others we need to work on, right? But our students in associate degrees will persist. Online. Look at all the associate degrees we have online. And again, we see some lower percentages for persistence. We can work on that. But we also see some higher ones, 80 and 90%. So we have a lot of associate degree programs, and none of these include the associate degrees that we're starting in Steubenville because we haven't started them yet. They start Monday as well. So we do have a large number of associate degrees. It helps our enrollment, it helps our community, it helps our region. So associate degrees are needed, and it's a strategic part of our plan. The last one I want to talk about how administration's role is working in yield is global. So we all have heard about the different restrictions with international students. And nationwide, we know that international students are down by 17%. We know there's about 36% less visas being given. That's a fact. That's a challenge that we have. But we are trying to find ways to overcome that challenge. How do we diversify our portfolio without having students have to come to YSU? If they're having troubles getting into the United States, what can we look at? So we're looking at programs, and Dr. Frank Lee's been doing an amazing job with his combined YSU and international diploma for his area in engineering. Thank you, Dr. Lee. And we're looking at how we can expand that to other countries. So how do we take our programs to other countries and work on combined? You get a YSU degree and you get a degree from your international institution. So we're looking at ways to solve that problem. All administration can do is build the framework, but we need the faculty to give us the meat, right? So we're going to make these opportunities available, but we need folks like Frank Lee that tells us this is how this program's going to work, and this is how we can do it. So that's what the administration's doing. What do we get from faculty? If you ask any of our recruitment folks what matters, it's getting students in front of you. The students could care less about the provost. They don't even know what the word provost means. I'm telling you, I've been on an airplane and someone says, what do you do for a living? I just start to say I'm faculty. Because when you say provost, they think you're driving that bus, right? The Prevost bus or whatever. They have no idea what a provost is. So they don't care about us. They care about the faculty. We get them in front of you. We get them to your labs. We get them on our beautiful campus. Thank you, John Hyden and all the folks that work on this campus. That's what matters to them. Penguin Preview. Those numbers are accurate. We had 4 Penguin Previews, 1,000 students and 1,000 guests. Talk about prime opportunity to get our faculty in front of prospective students. Again, that's what they want. They want to talk to you. So that's where we need our faculty to help us with this yield. CCP Direct Admit. We have YSU faculty that teach in the high schools. That is the student's first taste of YSU. We want it to be a really good taste too, right? So if they we think of CCP as a way to get potential students. If you're in front of them and they're having a positive experience, they're probably more likely to come to YSU. So that is a strategy to help improve yield. If we take a look at your presence on campus, it matters. Having a busy campus, having people walk around talking to students, it matters. The students want to see your face. They want to see your face if it's outside of the classroom. A lot of our students play in the orchestra or they play in a sport. They're in theater productions. They want to see you there. They want to know that you care about them. They want to see you at graduation too, and so do I. So all of these factors matter. So please make sure that you're on campus. The new workload policy that we passed with the board this past week or so includes having faculty who are not on a remote-only contract to be on campus for at least one course. That is a board policy. If you teach all online, that's fine. Teach one of your online courses at least in your office, on campus. Because if you're not here, we can't share governance. That's a challenge. If you're not here, we can't get your input. If you're not here, that student who just happens to wander through the halls doesn't see your face and randomly ask you a question. So we want you on campus. We like seeing all of you. So please make sure that you make that a priority. Marketing and branding, as I mentioned, we are here to help you with marketing and branding. So if you need any help with creating videos, with creating things that we can send out through email that are low cost, Ross is here to help you with all of that. Of course, there's another step in this, and that's retention. So retention, what are we doing in academic affairs for retention? We are impressing upon you why this matters. Now, this is from fall 24 to fall 25. All right? We had 7,767 full-time and part-time students. A very large percentage graduate. Yay, that's awesome. You guys did a fantastic job. We got over 1,500 students across the finish line. But we also had almost 1,250 students that didn't return. If you take a look at that number and break it down, and you say, oh, well, you know, there's always things that happen. Yes, there's always things that happen. But we had 777 students with no holds and were in good standing that walked out our doors. That is important to them. I'm not going to minimize the fact that it's some college, no degree, but what's important to us in addition to them is that $7.8 million. Every 100 students is about $1 million. That's $7.8 million less that the president has, that I have, to help support more faculty, more raises, more resources for you. This is important to the institution. It's important to our students, that's number one. But it's important to our institution as well for how we support. So how do we get these students back? 566 didn't go anywhere. 211 went somewhere else. Hopefully next year they'll realize they made a mistake and come back. But we still need to go after them, right? We need to tell them why YSU was such a good value system for them, while we have such quality expertise in every single program we offer. So your chairs do have this information. We have it broken down by department, by program. It's in a folder. They're going to be working with you as faculty on how we make sure that students who choose YSU stay at YSU and graduate from YSU. I'm trying to avoid the old demographic cliff conversation. We don't have as many students applying anymore. Nobody does. Some schools do. Most schools don't. But what we can do is retain more. So this is going to be our focus this academic year. And how can faculty help? Again, faculty can help with the advising. We've done a major restructuring under Dr. David Graham to the whole advising. But we need faculty to engage with the advisors to make sure they understand the different unique aspects of your curriculum. So advising is not separate from faculty. Professional advisors are here to help, and they do a fantastic job. But there's a lot of curricular changes that sometimes don't get to the advisors. This new structure is going to try and help correct that. But we still need the faculty's influence on our advisors to talk about different programs and what the options are. Your presence matters. I'm going to beat that to death this year. We talked about it last year, collaborative engagement. I'm going to continue talking about it. Work-based learning. I have down there to remind myself that internships and co-ops are important. Why are internships and co-ops important? It's in the state law. We'll be telling you more about that, but what we need to do is make sure that we have an opportunity for every student. Doesn't mean they're required to do an internship and co-op, but we have to have some opportunities for students to access those. So this is going to be an important discussion that we have. How do we get more students engaged? And then, of course, community engagement. I'm not going to try and say that phrase again. So we all know community engagement is important, and then in touch with our data, which I've talked about. Now, one last cleaning item I've got to talk about, and that is the Higher Learning Commission. So yes, it's that time of year again where HLC is going to come around, and it's hard to believe if you've been here for almost 10 years, you remember this 10 years ago. They're back. So this fall, Dr. Kevin Ball is going to be reaching out, and we're going to start to form the criterion groups. That's because in 20 months, less than 20 months, April 10th and 11th, 2028, they will be on our campus. I see people who have been here for more than 10 years putting their head in their hands. Yes, it's true. So we need to make sure that we're up on this. So to end this talk, I want to reflect 3 years ago, we talked about the importance of transparency and accountability. I hope that you've seen a difference in the way the Office of Academic Affairs is transparent. We are willing to tell you anything that you want to hear, even if it's not really what you want to hear. We're willing to tell you what you want to know. Collaborative engagement, I truly believe that we could not have reached an agreement with the CBA as quickly and as calmly and as friendly as we did if there wasn't as much collaborative engagement as we've had. So this year our theme, and if you were taking a sip of water every time I said the word challenge, you would be well hydrated. So our theme this year is Challenge Accepted, and this is in honor of all the challenges you as faculty have already accepted and how you've moved forward with it. Higher education is full of challenges now. And if we're not all in that same boat rowing together, it's going to be rough waters. But despite all of the challenges, we work together, we communicate, we don't hold back, we tell each other how we feel and what's going on. We are going to be able to accept these challenges and go further. So the closing talk is, be the reason a student comes to YSU, stays at YSU, and graduates from YSU. And because we appreciate you all so much, we are going to have a faculty tailgate for appreciation. It will start at 10:30 on September 26th in the lot next to McDonald's. and it will go at least until 2, maybe later. But we want to see you there. We want you to bring your family. We will have food, drinks, and we will have free tickets because we appreciate you and all that you do. So thank you. Thank you for your attention, and go Gwins. I'm not sure if there are any questions. There's still some cookies outside if you want to rush and get cookies, but I think we have 5 minutes for questions, but I'm willing to stay afterwards and answer other questions. Do we have anything from the audience?